Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome. Thank you for joining us today. And please feel free to use the chat to introduce yourself and let us know where you're joining us from today. My name is Esther Elkos, and I'm the chair of networking programs at the American Marketing Association New York. The holidays are just around the corner. So AMA New York, in partnership with Make Me Rich, a multi-channel advertising management platform, is bringing you this webinar to take a deep dive into what you can expect this year with shopping trends and how to think about your social ad strategy to help guarantee happy holidays for your brand. Before we begin the webinar, we would like to extend our thanks to Make Me Rich for being our Platinum event partner. We highly appreciate also our premier partner, Green Book, for supporting the AMA New York year-round. And finally, a special thanks to all our volunteers for their continued support and hard work to make these events like this one happen. The American Marketing Association, New York, thrives in the center of the world's most influential business city, raising the profile of marketing, providing professional development and networking opportunities, and serving as a resource of marketing industry events and news. At AMA New York, we work every day to inspire, support, and celebrate brilliance in marketing. As an AMA New York member, you have access to the most relevant and compelling knowledge base of data, tools, and people available in New York. I invite you to join this dynamic organization to access essential resources in our library of how-tos, benchmarking data, interactive tools, and best practices. Also expand your network and knowledge through a full schedule of events around new innovations, special interests, and emerging trends, as well as network among your peers and connect with leaders who shape the future of marketing. And elevate your leadership profile by volunteering, providing expertise or resources, and mentoring for the members. We have plenty of events coming up soon. So please stay tuned on social media and our website. Just an overview of the next events. On November 12th, we have our second Marketers Toolkit workshop on applications of VR/AR for engaging collaboration and immersive experiences, conducted by Gordon Mayer, New York City chapter president of the VR/AR Association. On November 19, Eliza Freud will conduct a webinar on how to use influencer marketing to drive awareness and sales at scale. And on December 3rd, Michael Sheen will present hype strategies to help you survive an economic crisis. So if you are considering becoming an AMA New York member, please feel free to contact us for additional questions. Now we are about to begin the webinar, but before we do, just so you know, we'll have about 20 minutes at the end for Q&A, so feel free to use the chat to ask them any questions you may have. And now, without more delay, it's my pleasure to present Catherine Peak, and Content Marketing Manager, and Alan Lee, Senior Marketing Director at Make Me Rich. Catherine is part of the marketing team at Make Me Rich. She has a sharp eye for market trends and everything ad tech, regularly writing and presenting about social media marketing and advertising. Originally from New York, she is based in Paris, and she has spent her career working for international businesses. And Alan leads performance marketing at Make Me Rich, where he uses social and digital advertising to contribute to business outcomes. He's previously worked at other technology companies such as Microsoft and Sprinkler, where he led data-driven marketing to improve customer experience through relevant messaging and rewarding customer journeys. Catherine, Alan, please take it away.
Thank you so much, Esther. Let me just share our presentation. Here we go. Thank you everyone for being here. It's really exciting to be able to see some of your faces for the presentation today. So let's jump in. First of all, as Esther said, if you do have questions during our presentation, please do pop those into the chat and we'll be happy to answer any questions you have at the end. So today we're talking about maximizing your holiday ads on social in 2020, which continues to be a very unique year. Go. So before we get started, I just wanted to introduce Make Me Reach a little bit. Esther presented us a bit. Make Me Reach is an advertising management platform that gives marketers the power to take full control over their advertising planning and execution, whatever the operating model is you use. So whether you're managing multiple brands, multiple franchises, working with different agencies, if you're working in-house with agencies or doing a hybrid, we really give you the power to take control over your advertising activities, no matter how you're working. And our platform isn't here to transform how you're working, like a lot of the companies in the space do. We're really here to make the best version of yourself and help adapt to your company's strategy. So I'll introduce us briefly. So a little bit of background, Make Me Reach was founded in 2009 in Paris. We're part of Perion Network, which is based in Israel. And we have offices in Paris, Barcelona, Minsk, New York, Kiev, and Tel Aviv, so quite international. I'm Catherine Peak. I'm the content marketing manager here. So I spend my days really keeping in tune with the latest in ad tech and social advertising. And I'm American, but based in Paris at the main Make Me Reach office. And I'm here with Alan. Hi, Alan.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for being here today.
So I'm going to start off the presentation and then Alan will take it on a little bit later. So we're talking about holidays today, the holiday advertising. Traditionally, the period spanning from Black Friday all the way through Christmas. And it's, of course, the most important shopping period of the year. In 2019, consumers in the US plan to spend an average of a little over $1,000 around for Christmas gifts and around the holidays. In 2020, we don't know exactly what that number is going to look like because it's been such an unpredictable year. We'll look at some spend projections in a few minutes. But no matter what, the holidays remain a really unmissable opportunity for brands. With everything going on in 2020, brands and advertisers don't really have the option of looking to past years as guidance. I know in 2019, 2018, you could look back at what you were doing the previous year and use that as a model. This year, you can do that to some extent, but there's so many unknowns, you really have to kind of think outside of the box a little bit with your social advertising. So with that in mind, the agenda today is we're going to take a quick look at shopping trends and how they've evolved in 2020, because I think this is a really good baseline for understanding how your customers are shopping and how you can really reach them well with social ads. We'll look at what you can expect for the 2020 season based on what we know, based on some predictions that we've seen come out. Then we'll dive into some best practices for your social ad strategy in 2020. And finally, dive into getting the right insights to go above and beyond with your social ads. So before we talk about holiday shopping specifically, I wanted to quickly zoom out and look at how shopping trends have evolved in 2020, since it's really going to inform how people are shopping during the holidays as well. And I think there's a lot to say about 2020 specifically. So first of all, with the pandemic and lockdowns and people kind of wary of going into stores, shopping habits have changed pretty drastically this year. There's been a major shift towards buying online, and people tend to plan store visits out more than they were doing so before. And something that's been really interesting is that we've seen these digital transformations that we thought we'd see happen over the course of years happen over months. So all those predictions you saw about the rise in e-commerce and mobile shopping happening over 5 years, it's happening now. So that's interesting and kind of exciting for us as brands and as advertisers, but also means that you have to shift strategy a little bit. So looking at e-commerce specifically, with COVID and the pandemic, we've seen store closings and a little bit more fear from some people of going shopping in store. And all this has driven a huge growth in online sales. Just to put some statistics behind it, the US e-commerce spending is set to exceed $189 billion this year, which is a 33% year-on-year growth. It's enormous. And we've seen the emergence of, not the emergence of, but the rapid growth of kind of hybrid models of spending. A great example of this is buy online, pick up in store, which is up 40% from 2019. And some of these changes are really going to, I think a lot of these changes are going to be really sustainable. For example, with the buy online, pick up in store model, Google study found that 50% of shoppers using curbside pickup said they'd really like to continue shopping this way. So with people having grown more accustomed to online shopping during lockdown months, and unfortunately with some lockdowns happening here in France, we're locked down again, brands are more likely to see more customers shopping online for the holidays than previous years. We have some more specific figures about that, so I'll get to that in a couple of minutes. And just one final point to make here is about mobile shopping. So along with the growth in e-commerce, we've seen a major pickup when it comes to shopping on smartphones and on mobile devices. It's another aspect of the accelerated digital transformation of 2020. Again, to put some statistics behind it, smartphones are expected to drive a majority of online retail traffic this year, about 60% of it. And smartphone shopping is seeing a 55% year-on-year growth. So really huge shifts happening here. So with all of these evolutions, with shopping habits in mind, what does that mean for your brand this year? What should you expect from your customers in terms of behavior around the holidays? Understanding how your customers are shopping, how they're thinking about things, the consumer trends that are happening are going to help inform your social ad strategy. So in terms of spend, things do remain a little bit uncertain. There's some conflicting data about anticipated holiday spend. Deloitte, for example, predicts a rise in holiday retail sales between 1 and 1.5%. Forrester takes a little bit more of a negative view, seeing retail sales declining 2.5% for the full year. So, with more people laid off and furloughed, spend could be lower. On the other hand, people haven't been spending on travel, not so much on dining out. So people might want to really treat themselves around the holidays. Whatever the case, though, it's an uncertain year, and that means it's more important than ever to really capture consumer attention and be really strategic with your ads in that way. Like we've seen the trends for the rest of the year, there's been a major shift towards online. There is a major shift towards online shopping for the holidays specifically. According to a Google study, 74% of shoppers plan to do more online shopping this year than they did in previous years. And about 2/3 of shoppers in the US plan to do all of their holiday shopping online. So this is really a great opportunity to reach your customers online. A recent report by PwC stated that a majority of consumers, about 55% of them, said that the virus is a top concern, and consumers are really concerned about becoming sick when they're doing holiday shopping. So, all of that is pushing people online. Black Friday and Cyber Monday, which are coming up quite soon, are also likely to be more online. We've all heard about major retailers like Walmart, Target, Kohl's closing on Thanksgiving. So it's going to be a different kind of Black Friday than in previous years, but it doesn't mean that it won't be as big. And with this digital transformation, customers also have high expectations when it comes to online shopping and online experiences. So that means, from the shopping experience to the actual ad experience, customers are expecting personalized engagement. And this can really be done through good data and precise targeting. And retailers need to make sure to deliver relevant messages this year more than ever, since the stakes are really quite high. So taking what we know about the holiday season in 2020 into account, along with everything that we don't know in this pretty strange and unpredictable year, how can you use social ads to successfully reach your customers and drive sales this season? We're going to take a look at some best practices for your digital ad strategy. And because we do have a short time, we won't dive too much into the nitty gritty of each network, but we're going to take a broad look at some of the strategies and best practices you can use to get more out of your ad spend all across networks. If you do have network specific questions, we can try and answer them in the chat. Anyway, here we go. So the first best practice is to start early. It's probably a little bit late to say this. Black Friday is coming up quite soon. But really the time is now to get out there with your digital ads. 49% of consumers reported that they were planning on starting their holiday shopping by Halloween, so last week. There's also a lot of competition around the holidays in general, and even more this year, especially in the online space, because this is where you're going to reach your customers. A lot of brands are starting promotions earlier. And then the other aspect is, if you get out there with your social ads now, it gives you more time to come up with contingency plans, to change tactics if you realize that something you're doing, some your targeting, your audience building maybe isn't working as well. Starting early gives you time to adapt as needed. And so with, in previous years, mobile has been really important. In 2020, with those figures we saw before, it's more important than ever. We're all much more dependent on our smartphones with social distancing and lockdowns. People are spending more time shopping on their phones, social networking. So that gives you a really good opportunity to reach your customers, but it's also really essential. It's something you can't ignore. Remember that figure I brought out earlier, 55% increase in mobile shopping this year. It's huge. So this means you really need to be ready to go mobile first to ensure a seamless ad experience. So check your website and make sure that the experience it works really well on mobile. And your ad should be designed with smartphone users in mind first. If you're running ads on desktop, this can come second, but really think smartphones before anything else. I think this year is also really a great opportunity to try networks and formats that are mobile first. So TikTok is a great example. We became a marketing partner with them this year, and brands are doing really new and creative things on the network that are really memorable. So, with consumers on new networks, spending more time on their phones, it can be a really good opportunity to try some new things and have your brand stand out in a way that, kind of pushes you ahead of the crowd. Snapchat's another example. They've been adding some great new features for advertisers. It's a network where you can reach pretty unique audiences. So, if you haven't been on Snapchat, it could be a great year to test that out. Another thing worth mentioning is that there are some networks that offer really interesting ad formats for mobile specifically. I'm thinking about AR lenses, for example, on Snapchat and Facebook. So those kind of ads let consumers try on clothing or accessories or makeup directly with the ad. So it creates a lot of interactivity, and it really it meets customers where they are in the way they want to be shopping, especially in a year like this, where they're a little bit more fearful of going to stores. It kind of creates the kind of experiences that they want to have directly with your advertising. So just a couple of examples. There are a lot of other interesting things you can try with your social ads, but those are some of our fan favorites. The next point is trying to reach new audiences. So with the increase in e-commerce, in mobile shopping, a lot of customers have discovered new brands or new places to shop online over the past few months. So if your brand has new audiences, that's a great opportunity for you around the holidays. So if you've earned new customers over, during this year, make sure you're targeting them with multiple touches, with special offers, really develop that customer loyalty. And then of course, retarget. Make sure you have a full funnel ad strategy that retargets customers who've shown interest. It's a general best practice around the holidays, not just in 2020, but this year it's super important. We all know that one ad isn't going to drive someone to convert. So think about your messaging through the full funnel and make sure you're speaking in the right way to the right people through their path to purchase. Make your ads conversational. From a technical point of view, you'll want to make sure that your pixels are all set up correctly. So pixels, of course, are the snippet of code from social networks that fire when someone takes an action on your website. And those are really key to understanding your audience and how they're behaving, behaving, and then being able to accurately retarget those consumers. And then finally, you can also consider using some third-party audience tools like LeadsBridge or LiveRamp to get offline information, for example, to better target online. Those are some partnerships that we have here at Make Me Reach, and we've had some customers who've been really happy with those kind of tools. So on the subject of retargeting, lost my arrow, here we go, up. I just want to quickly look at a case study that we did with one of our customers here at Make Me Reach. This is with Tammy and Benjamin, who is a high-end leather bag designer. So we were working with them for their Black Friday advertising a couple of years ago. And they were doing a lot of retargeting across networks, and it really gave them great results. So I just wanted to take a quick look at that. So they were running an integrated campaign across Facebook, Instagram, and Google. And they were really focused on driving action through the full funnel on Facebook and Instagram, and then supporting that through branded search campaigns on Google. So basically, they would take qualified prospects, so people who had viewed at least 2 product pages on their website, and then using the Facebook pixel, that audience was combined into a website custom audience, retargeted on Facebook and Instagram from early November. And the same ad formats from the awareness stage were retained in these conversion stages, and combined with Facebook dynamic ads to really fully leverage retargeting based on users' previous interests. So, using some really great technical tools and then showing the audiences exactly the kind of products that they had previously shown interest in. And the results for doing this kind of cross-network retargeting were great. They saw a 230% lift in sales on Facebook and Instagram, and a 90% lift in sales on Google for Black Friday. So yeah, just to give a quick illustration of what that kind of retargeting could look like. And that brings us nicely into our next slide, which is thinking across networks. So it's really essential for most brands to advertise on different networks to make the most of the holiday season. Facebook and Instagram are the really obvious ones. You can reach just about anyone there. But each network really has its strengths, and many have unique audiences, if you're thinking about Snapchat or TikTok. And by leveraging several networks, you'll better be able to reach your audience all across the path to purchase and really help remain top of mind. So as advertisers, we know that, from our own experiences, just one ad on one network doesn't really get you that far. Social advertising really works best when you have a strategy that spans all across networks, and it makes sense when you think about your own experiences and your own use of social networks also. From my personal experience, I use 4 or 5 networks every day, and when you think about the path to purchase also, it may take multiple ads on multiple networks, multiple formats to capture someone's attention. As a personal example, I bought a pair of shoes off of Instagram this summer from an ad that I saw, but it definitely wasn't the first ad I'd seen. I'd seen stuff in my feed, they advertised me in my stories, and I might have seen some stuff from them on Facebook, I don't remember. And then when the perfect pair of shoes came up, I knew the brand, I looked up some reviews on Google, and ended up making the purchase. But it was a process to get there, and that's how it is most of the time with social ads. So it's just an illustration that you need to be across multiple networks to really capture interest and stay top of mind, especially around the holidays, which is a really competitive period. So what really ties all this together, all the networks and ad campaigns and audiences are the insights and data. So around the holidays and in 2020 especially, having accurate insights into your social ads and across networks will really help you do more with your ads. Knowing where you stand with your data can help you stay agile. And if you notice something's performing better, a network, a particular format, having immediate access to your data lets you detect those trends and pivot quickly. And in a year with so many unknowns, doing so can really, really save you. So I'm going to pass the mic off to Alan now.
Thanks, Catherine. Yeah, that was a great overview of a lot of interesting data on just holiday shopping this year and in general. So I'm going to talk about a few tactics on social that is different than what we have had access to before. So just back to kind of taking a step backwards, ads that only really work if it is super relevant to the user. And I think some of the advantages that we have in social advertising compared to where we've come from in traditional broadcast advertising is our ability to create lots of different variations and to have conversations with specific audiences based on their specific needs. And in doing that, we're creating a lot more relevance. And so from a billboard or a Super Bowl ad where we're able to reach hundreds of thousands or millions, you're now seeing advertisers able to speak to very specific groups in the single digit thousands. And there's really no magic to this. It's going back to your individual business and truly really understanding what really motivates your customer. What do they care about? This is a particularly tough year for a lot of people. And so I, like many others, for the first time in my adult life, I'm actually not going home for the holidays because I know my parents are high risk, right? And so there's these things that are generational and experiences that we all share that we can talk to as advertisers, but also there are many breakdowns in your customers and your prospects where you can test specific imagery and messaging that would resonate best. And if we go to the next slide, Kat, I can get into that. And so, so on the tactics level, the way that you want to do this is more like a game of 20 questions, right? And so all of you come from companies that I'm sure have advertised in many different mediums. But the advantage to social is that it allows you to ask sequential questions. And that's where the major difference is, right? So before, whereas you said something and then you waited to see if it had an overall lift or if it had a result, and then you asked another question. These questions are sort of independent, right? And it would be like playing the game of 20 questions of me guessing what's in your head by just guessing 20 different things. But today, with our ability to target with social, and also just the number of variations of ads that we can run, we effectively can start with very broad questions, even just with looking at your data from what you've done before in terms of ad engagement by audience breakdown, and to be able to get down to what each segment of your audience cares about very specifically. So you would start with something like, is it a person, a place, or a thing? And then, is it a real person or is it a fictional person? And by doing this, what you're doing is you're learning specific insights about your customers. And you're now able to have really a good conversation, much like kind of going out to coffee with an old friend. And if you can go to the next slide. There are many different categories in which we can do this. And so as you create ads in the ad copy and the imagery that you do, there's a lot of different buckets in how you can classify your current prospects and customers. And I really encourage you to go in and look at specific engage from everywhere from awareness. So something like the number of people that have engaged, the number of people that have interacted, commented, liked, click through to the next subsequent action, to how that plays out in your customer journey. And what you'll see when you overlay specific classifications over each of your products, your customer journey, your audiences, is you'll start to see patterns arise. And then that will guide you to the next subsequent question that you'll want to ask. And if you do this across all of your products, all of your customer journeys that you have, you'll start to really have the ability to drive ads that are hyper relevant, very useful for your users, but also tie in that emotional piece, which is the kind of the coffee with an old friend. And so if we could go to the next slide. There's a lot of data that I think exists today, and I have this sort of analogy to explain some of it. So for those of you who are practitioners on this call who work day to day, you know, your hands are dirty with the raw data from the sources from each of the ad technology or platforms or channels that you work with. And then I think at the high level, almost every company has like a CMO or executive dashboard that sees all your campaigns. And my analogy here is that you can make sort of smoothies, which is the compression of all of your data into these beautiful displays, but it won't tell you much about your audience, or it won't tell you specific things about your customer journey, because you can't make fruit back from smoothies. So there needs to be this, for you to solve this problem, you need this intermediary layer, which is more like the grocery store, where you take the raw data and you organize it in a way where you can find these insights. And if we go to the next slide, you know, there's a lot of work, right? So I mentioned that before, that there's no real magic to this. A lot of it is in pivoting data, understanding when I said, when I made this ad with 5 different types of value propositions, I may have articulated one value proposition in 5 different ways with different words. Like, is there a pattern there, first off? Because lots of times there isn't. But oftentimes when you do find a pattern, like to articulate something, and it works 3 or 5 times better, and you know that it's statistically significant, you can then ask the next subsequent question. So if you go to the next slide, so you want to be able to do this. Classically, we did a lot of manual work for this, and I just want to end with, you know, there are tools that you can employ to do a lot of this. If we go to the next slide, you know, we make one of them. So this is kind of the sales pitch for us, where you can very easily bring in your custom data. So whatever you're measuring, so, you know, ad performance to customer journey performance to cost per acquisitions and average order values and all of that stuff, and then pivot it against your audience message to find the best fit. And so I hope that's a great overview today of how to take some of the strategic things that Catherine's mentioned down sort of to a day-to-day and how to action on that. So I think if you go to the next slide. So thanks everyone for joining today, and we're happy to take questions on anything in the presentation or just anything in general.
I see we have a couple of questions in the chat. So I'll answer the ones that we have there so far. So Gabriela is asking, which of the categories that consumers are most willing to spend in? I didn't do a lot of specific research about the categories that consumers are spending in. Broadly though, I have read that people are buying things more this year than experiences. So, you know, that kind of makes sense. People aren't offering weekends away or concerts or theater tickets, that kind of thing. it's really getting back to like consumer stuff. I did another webinar on back to school advertising and did a little bit more research into categories that people were spending in at that time of year. And it was a little bit more like electronics, bigger ticket items, more than clothing and that kind of thing. So for the holidays, I'm not sure specifically, but people are more likely to buy stuff than experiences this year because of the pandemic and the limitations in what people can do and can't do. So Gabriella asked another question about in terms of content, would you suggest having customized ads across different social networks, same message or customized depending on the network? I would say it depends. So for some networks, I would say absolutely yes, you need a customized customized creatives, basically. TikTok is one of them. TikTok is just so specific. It has really specific codes. It's all based around music that for that network, you really need to have your own kind of creative for that specifically. Facebook and Instagram obviously are the same company, so those formats are super easy to put on one network and the other. And for the rest, it depends a little bit. On Snapchat, if you're running catalog ads, I think you can easily use the creative you're using for Facebook or Instagram catalog ads there. But other formats won't work as well in Snap. Something you're using on Facebook won't work as well in Snapchat. So it depends a little bit. Sorry, it's not a simple answer, but I hope it answers the question a little bit. I would say. Oh, so, go ahead, Alan.
I could maybe provide some insight on that too. So before you pick specific creatives, it's important to sort of really understand the audience that you're trying to reach on each channel. And oftentimes they overlap. So with Facebook, it's pretty ubiquitous. Most people have Facebook and Instagram, but with Snapchat, it might not always overlap. And so you want to make sure that the message that you're delivering and the things that you're testing on is consistent to the specific slice of audience that you're going after. And then second is if we always struggle with not having enough budget to do all the cool things that we want, right? So if you had to pick on making a trade-off for the type of content and the type of ad that you're making, I would encourage you to try things that differentiate you from your competition. And so leveraging unique aspects to each of the platforms. And so what are sort of form factors within Snapchat versus TikTok versus Instagram that you cannot do on the other platforms? And then what are your what are your competitors sort of doing and not doing to allow you to stand out from them? So that would be my answers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, good insights there. So we have another question. Any insights on holiday shopping for premium or bigger ticket items this year? I didn't see any statistics on that specifically. And yeah, honestly, the studies I did see from like Deloitte and Forrester, it was a lot of like we don't really know. Alan, I don't know if you saw anything about spend on bigger ticket items, but I think it's a little bit early also to see. People have started shopping a little bit, but I think it's a little bit early to see exactly what those trends are for now. I'm sorry, it doesn't answer your question so much, but
yeah, I wouldn't take, so there's a lot of data right now for this year and a lot of traditional companies moving to digital. And so they're investing quite a lot. If you look at the marketplace, it's been a little bit noisy, particularly because it's election season in America. And so there's been a lot of competition for, at the attention of people. And I think that'll wind down as we get closer and closer to the holidays for competitiveness. And so I think it's maybe too early to tell, like you said. Let's see, this particular question said, any insights on premium or bigger ticket items this year? I think, yeah, I'm not sure, yeah, I guess is the answer. So don't know quite yet.
So we have another question from Karen. Experience has typically been the driver, even when selling physical items. Have you seen companies continue to deliver on experience? That's a good question. Yeah, I'm trying to think about that. I mean, yeah, we have seen some companies do, like I mentioned in the presentation, like AR try-on, AR lenses. I saw a study from Snapchat, and I wish I could remember the exact figure, but using AR is something that customers are really interested in using for try-ons and that kind of thing. So that's something that some brands have done pretty well to shift to trying things on online. Otherwise, in terms of experiential things, yeah, I haven't. I've seen brands like testing out new messages and really kind of using the current moment to speak to their customers in a different way, in a little bit more of a touchy-feely way this year. I think. I don't know if that's if other people have experienced that too. I just saw the Amazon ad that they released for the holidays, and it's a tearjerker. It's beautiful, but kind of fits in with our current moment, with of solidarity and working to make things happen together. But Alan, have you seen any interesting like experience kind of advertising besides like AR and VR and that kind of thing?
Yeah, I think it's important to sort of focus on what's unique to your customer journey. Like I said, I think this year a lot of people's in this new normal, there's a lot of things. If you look in your customer journey, that's been disrupted, and to your customers and unique to your specific business. I think there's a lot of opportunities to innovate, and it's sort of we're all trying to figure this out, and I think there's going to be the most creative and the most innovative solutions, I think, will stand above the others, when particularly the product itself is maybe not as differentiated. And so, for example, I am looking to, I mentioned that I wasn't going home for the first time, probably as long as I can remember, for the holidays. But I still want to be able to connect. We'll probably hang out via Zoom or teleconference. And so, how can a brand sort of enhance that experience? And I guess that's an open question to all of you, and bringing back to your teams and thinking about ways of taking your product or service and kind of observing and being part of where we are. I think the mistake comes when companies are sort of ignoring the present and just still trying to brute force like business as usual. And so maybe my recommendation there is not so much what you can do, but maybe something to avoid is to not use the same playbook that you've had and the same strategies and tactics that's worked in prior years, because this year is different. And so, I would encourage people to experiment and create new experiences.
So any insights on how try-ons and related product returns have affected online sales? I imagine people are buying larger volumes of clothing in multiple sizes, returning items that don't fit. How has the activity affected online sales numbers, and how has it affected social media marketing strategies in clothing and other industries? That's a really interesting question. I'm not specialized enough in like e-commerce stats and stuff to know exactly how it has impacted brands. But I know brands have had to adapt in terms of, offering free shipping as much as they can, curbside pickup, free returns. So yeah, I'm not sure how it's impacted sales numbers, but I know that the companies who do offer a really seamless online shopping and return experience are really coming out ahead, because people have high expectations for online shopping. They want it to be easy. They want it to be, as easy as going into a store, buying something, and then being able to take it back and return it and get their full refund. So I think, like, as far as it's possible for companies who are selling online to offer experiences that are just like really user friendly and where the customer's right all the time, basically, are really going to come out ahead. Hope that answers the question a little bit.
Yeah, and I am, so outside of my role at Make Me Reach, I do have some friends that are in the e-commerce business that I advise in marketing on. And what I've seen from them, or what I've heard from them, is that actually returns have gone down. I'm not sure what's causing that. Again, it could just be people are not willing to go to the post office and mail stuff back. So maybe this is all just queued up for later. But that seems to be just what we're observing in terms of returns, or maybe people are just more empathetic towards understanding that if they return something, it'll probably get thrown away and not, put back on a shelf and resold. So that's an interesting observation that I've had. I think one of the ways that, again, to improve this is influence the shopping experience is to think about ways of maybe packaging and also showcasing through advertisements, through the different variations that you produce, on how to enhance this for the online experience. So this is a great question.
Anything else? Oh, let's see. So what are the biggest shifts in social media strategies that you've seen with your clients? Are people expanding platforms, focusing on certain channels, adding new ones? Yeah, we've seen, people continuing to advertise on Facebook and Instagram. There was, I think a lot of our clients are based in EMEA, but there was, of course, the Facebook boycott that happened over the summer. We didn't really see it impact our clients too much. We do have some who are, I think, more and more who are kind of curious about TikTok. We added it onto our platform recently, but there's been a lot of interest there because I think it, first of all, helps you reach a new audience. It's, the stereotype is it's younger people, but it's not only younger people. They've seen a huge growth in numbers in people more my age, from like 25 to 35, and in lots of different territories. And I think that the creativity that the platform offers, and also the brand visibility, because some of their ad formats are really powerful, like the 24-hour brand takeover. You can really get in front of a lot of pairs of eyes that way. Again, I think the creativity offers kind of a breath of fresh air to brands who are looking to do something a little bit different. We've also had like a little bit more interest in Pinterest. I think we have some clients who are, we offer Pinterest reporting for now, and we're working on integrating Pinterest ad activation onto our platform. And we do have some clients who are pretty curious to, or eager to have Pinterest ads on the platform, because Pinterest has been rolling out some interesting features too, I think, especially for in terms of social shopping. I mean, they have like shop the look pins where you can kind of see items and buy them directly from pins. So they've really been kind of on the forefront of the social selling bandwagon, I would say.
Yeah, I think most of our customers are still very strong on Facebook and Instagram, and people are tiptoeing into TikTok. I think there's a ton of interest around. A lot of the conversations are had around TikTok is bottlenecked by, I think, people, a lot of teams don't know what to do from a creative standpoint. There's a new audience, sort of new formats, and there are companies that help with that. We have a sister company that does creative called Undertone as well, that can kind of help you get started. But it's a new tactic, and I think in terms of channels, you should be able to hit all your goals and your business objectives with the established, and start to experiment into some of these new and upcoming channels. And I think TikTok, just the speed and the scale that it's at, is definitely something, that's worth trying. Again, a lot of this just depends on your specific business and service and, who your audiences are. But I would say, better earlier than later to sort of tiptoe into some of these new channels. I remember, just to be brief, at one point many years ago, people were like, "Oh, we shouldn't do Facebook because that's just for kids." And it seems like, that's, history doesn't repeat itself, but it sort of rhymes. So it's, in case it's not just for kids, like, it's never too late to get started, or too early, I should say, to get started.
So we have another question about we see a difference between how B2C or DTC versus B2B companies are approaching social right now. Honestly, we don't work with a lot of B2B companies at Make Me Reach. So yeah, our specialty is really more B2C, DTC companies. So honestly, I have a hard time answering that question. I don't know if you have any insights, Alan.
So we're kind of a B2B company, right? So our clients
we can take our own experience. Alan is running our ads for Make Me Reach.
So I think I could comment on the B2B part a bit. So, a lot of historical ways where we are able to drive demand, like in-person events, have gone away. And so, again, we've shifted to more digital things, just like this event that everyone is at today. And so, again, to my comment earlier, rather than kind of wait and hoping that this all goes away, I think it's very important for companies to adapt and observe and to innovate. And so, a lot of the challenge that we face this year have been very tough. But again, oftentimes, they're sort of opportunities in disguise. And I would very much encourage those that are in the B2B space to kind of experiment with some of the new tactics beyond what they've done before. I hope that helps.
Well, thank you so much, Catherine and Ellen, for this insightful webinar. I hope that everyone has learned more about how to approach the holiday season. And we hope to see you at our upcoming event on November 12th. It's the second Marketers Toolkit workshop, so you'll be able to learn more about VR AR trends. And thanks again to Make Me Reach for presenting this webinar. And thank you all, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.